Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Ken, also known as MrKenDenis. So, in today's video, I'm going to be answering the question, why does my accent sound so weird? If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys click on the subscribe button down below and also that bell so you get notified when I do have a new video up. I basically do a lot of beauty, lifestyle related videos, and I also vlog about my personal life. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so lately I have been contemplating whether or not I should talk about this because I feel like it's such a insignificant topic, but I guess some of you guys find it interesting. I do have a few comments from you guys saying that I sound like I'm from this area and from that area, and then get surprised when they find out where I'm from. So just to give you guys a little bit of backstory, if you guys aren't subscribed already, make sure you guys do. So if you like me, you know, just subscribe. I am of Filipino descent. I was born and raised in Hong Kong. I now live in Melbourne, Australia. So I've also lived in the Philippines. Yeah, that's pretty much all the major life stuff. So I suppose let's start from the very beginning. So like I said, I was born and raised in Hong Kong, but my parents are from the Philippines. So I probably had a little bit of a Filipino accent as well when I first started speaking. So my parents put me up in an English kindergarten. So all the teachers at the school had this sort of like British BBC sort of accent. And then for primary school, at elementary school, I went to an international school, and a lot of the students, or pupils I should say, at the school had different accents from different backgrounds. Like there were a lot of people from India, Pakistan, a few people from Jamaica as well, a lot of Filipinos, a couple of Chinese people as well, and I'm pretty sure there was a guy from Portugal. But anyway, it was a very mixed environment, and I guess I got teased a fair bit as well when I was growing up because one, you could obviously tell that I was quite flamboyant and I had no idea about my sexuality at that point in time. So I was trying to fit in, and I suppose I was starting to mold a little bit of an American accent because everyone else at the school had this pretty much Americanized accent, and it wasn't much of a problem, and I didn't really notice that I sounded different from everyone else until high school. So my first year of high school, I went to a Canadian high school, and I suppose that was also the time I started to sound a little bit more Americanized. So I probably sounded a little bit more like this because, again, I was going to a Canadian school and a lot of the teachers were from Canada as well, and like I said, I didn't know what my sexuality was, like my sexual orientation at the time was, so it was very hard for me, sticking out like a sore thumb. So, you know, as much as possible, I tried my best to simulate and just be like everyone else, but unfortunately that just never happened. And then the SARS outbreak happened, and my family decided it was a better idea to go back to the Philippines. One, because it really affected our business. I think that was one of the main reasons, and also so that it would be easier for me to go to college over there because I didn't really speak the language at all. Like I spoke a little bit of Tagalog, but I wasn't very fluent Filipino. I think that was one of the ideas as well. Like if I studied there for high school, I would be a little bit more well-versed with the language, and then when I went to college, it wouldn't be so much of a problem. So that was that, and I went to a very provincial town, so it's like really country. Honestly, I feel like that town, a lot of people didn't really speak English that much. Like they watched American shows or English shows, I'd say, and they understood it, but they didn't really communicate using English that often. So I really was kind of like, boot camp, here you go, I have to learn Tagalog now. And yeah, that was very interesting for me. And I suppose as a child, it was easier. I mean, I feel like if they did that to me now, I would be completely lost with the language. That being said, I do know how to speak Tagalog now. I'm quite fluent. Wouldn't say super proficient, but enough to have a conversation. So here's the scenario. I'm now in the capital. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, okay, so people are more, I suppose, accustomed to different accents of English. So I thought, like, okay, I can go back to my normal accent. Not that it was a conscious decision, but I kind of wanted to. But unfortunately, because it was still the Philippines, and everyone was very accustomed to an American accent, so they actually made fun of, like I had one teacher kind of making fun of sort of like a British accent. So you know, like the word clock, so in Americanized accent it's going to be a clock, whereas with a British accent in Aussie, I suppose it'd be a clock. And yeah, I remember distinctly one of the teachers made fun of someone who has that sort of like accent, and I just thought to myself, okay, so probably not a good idea to talk like this, because yeah, it just felt a little bit awkward. And then I also had a scenario where I had an English teacher say that I had horrible English because my pronunciation was all over the place. Clearly she just wanted an American accent, so you know, to make it easier for everyone else, I just thought I would just revert back to an American accent and just go along with that. And then when I finished college in the Philippines, I returned to Hong Kong, and I then made the conscious decision that I clearly remember thinking, okay, I think it's time to like reinvent myself and kind of go back to who I was before I left. So I started to really put on that English accent again. And if you guys watch my earlier videos, I do sound quite weird. I have to admit, I had this like really weird American, like trying to be English sort of accent. Sorry, I was looking at my phone. Yeah, I just had this really weird accent. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you can go to my older videos. I'll link one or two down in the comment description box down below so you guys can see what I mean. And yeah, after a while, obviously, my English accent sort of started to come back and start to get reinforced. Especially when I watch English shows, I find myself sounding very, very English, or I don't know, I feel like I sound very English. Like when I start watching these shows, I feel like my accent does change depending on who I talk to. And when I moved over to Australia, I think that's when my accent started to change yet again, because I started to hang out with a lot of Aussies, and currently I am with my boyfriend who is Aussie, so he's from the country too. It's very, very Aussie, so I can't really do an Aussie accent as of yet. I probably will develop one at some point. But that being said, some of my friends from Hong Kong have said that like when I go back to Hong Kong, that I've started to develop sort of like an Aussie accent as well. So probably for English people, I sound a little Aussie, and I've had a few Aussies tell me that I sound a little bit American, but I guess it really depends on who I talk to. If I'm speaking to someone from North America, I will unconsciously start to say things a little bit more American, like maybe sound a little bit more like this. It's like a little bit English still, but it's still, I don't know, it's really hard to describe. I can't even really force it. It's one of those things that just happens. So while we're talking about accents, I also wanted to talk about how when I first moved over to Australia, I kind of surprised a couple of people, because I did go to a university town, so I don't really know why they were so surprised with my accent, but I clearly remember a few people just saying to me like, oh, your voice, your accent shouldn't be coming out of your mouth. And in my head, I'm just thinking, what did they expect? Did they expect me to sound like this, like a Filipino, because you know I'm not Anglo-Saxon background, that I should sound just Filipino because that is my heritage? I guess to some people, if they've not really enlightened themselves, that's the word, enlighten themselves, that, you know, people move around these days, and, you know, people can learn and pick up different accents wherever they go. So I think, you know, when I first moved over here, a lot of people actually thought that I should sound more like this, or have like sort of like this Chinese accent or a Vietnamese accent, you know, something Asian. I think that's what they really expected from me. But you know, I just simply do not sound like this. I mean, I can put on the accent obviously, but obviously that is not how I really sound. I guess I have one of those accents that will continually change throughout the years, especially now that I live here in Australia. I'll probably develop more of an Aussie sounding accent as time goes on. Who knows? And I think that's just the thing that happens these days. You know, the more you meet people that travel around the world, live elsewhere, you will get accents that will change. So, you know, I think that's not being fake. I think that's completely normal, and that's pretty much my explanation why I sound different, why I sound weird. So yeah, there you guys go. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to thumbs up the video if you guys enjoyed. Tell me down in the comment box down below if you guys have a very similar sort of situation where your accent does change depending on who you talk to, whether it because you moved a lot or because you have parents from 2 different countries with 2 different accents. So yeah, again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.